Hey, what is up everyone? This is Mabel HQ, the pro gamer, back at you with one more God of War video. My fellows, today I wanna talk about a really serious issue that plagues the modern God of War games and that pretty much the developer of the game, Santa Monica Studios, is at fault here for. This is also a problem that I've seen so many other players have and that I don't see enough people talking about, which is terrible considering how much of a problem this is. Here's a quick clip showcasing the issue in question. Yep, that's it. Today we're gonna be talking about camera drift, also known as stick drift. So what is exactly this thing? To put it simple, it's when you are not performing any kind of input on the right analog stick on your controller, but you can see the camera randomly moving on its own towards a particular direction. The main reason as to why this phenomenon happens is usually because the right stick on your controller is either malfunctioning or has dust or dirt inside it, causing the analog sensors to register non-existent inputs. And the only feasible ways of actually fixing this is by either 1. Watching some bullshit YouTube video on how to massage your controller so it stops hating you and goes back to working properly. 2. Take the whole thing apart in order to clean it, risking breaking something inside during the process. Or 3. Buy a brand new controller. So with that said, the solution here should be obvious, right? I just need to either fix my controller or buy a new one, right? So this whole video might as well be pointless and a waste of time, right? Well, not really, because your controller malfunctioning or having dirt inside are not the only reasons as to why you might get this issue. Sometimes the game that you're playing can be the cause, and such is the case with the modern God of War games. Now hear me out, folks. I've been playing the modern God of War games for a long time now. That includes both God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, and throughout the years, I've tried playing these games with 4 different controllers, 2 for PS4 and 2 for PS5, making a total of 4 controllers used in these games. And with any of these 4 controllers, I have experienced the same issue when playing either God of War 2018 or God of War Ragnarok, and it's fucking outrageous. The truth of the matter here is, PlayStation controllers are not of a very good quality, and particularly when we talk about the internal components of these devices like the sensors that pick up the movement on the analog sticks. These are mass-produced by a company called Alps for several brands of video game controllers like Xbox and PlayStation, and they aren't very durable to say the least. Sometimes brand new Xbox or PlayStation controllers can present drift issues as early as in 3 or 4 weeks of use. And most controllers that use these Alps components will develop this problem at some point of their lifespan too. But even though most PlayStation controllers will develop this issue at some point, the issue normally happens to such a small degree that you won't even notice it in most games, because most games nowadays are programmed with a dead zone for the analog sticks of the controller, which makes the game not register any movement from the sticks unless your input on the analog passes a certain threshold, precisely to prevent these kind of issues where the game registers unwanted movements or actions from the sticks. And guess what? Fucking God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok don't do this. For some incomprehensible motive, our friends at Santa Monica Studios didn't program a dead zone for the right stick on the controller scheme of these games. And what you are about to see are the results of that decision. So guys, here's what we're gonna do next. I wanna show you this clip that I recorded the other day where I tested this seemingly malfunctioning PS5 controller that I'm holding in my hands right now with God of War Ragnarok and other 6 games made by 6 different companies or game studios. Now stay tuned because I assure you, you are about to see some hilarious and yet outrageous stuff. So here we go. Alright, first thing I wanna show you guys is the difference between a game with a dead zone designated for the sticks on the controller and a game without it. As you're about to see, I'm gonna start fidgeting my thumb over the right stick on God of War Ragnarok, and you're gonna see that the camera starts moving. At this point, I'm barely applying any kind of force or input on the stick, and yet you can see that with the slightest of touches, the game reacts and the camera rotates in any direction. And later on this same clip, you can see how the camera starts drifting. Great job, Santa Monica. Okay, so that's basically how the game and the controller behave when there is not a dead zone programmed into the controls of the game. Now let's try doing the same thing on a game with an actual dead zone on the right stick like Doom Eternal and see what happens. Alright guys, so just like I did before, I'm gonna start fidgeting with my thumb over the right stick. As you can see, there is no camera movement whatsoever. Now I'm gonna try to apply more input into the stick and try to replicate the same drifting issue that I just had in God of War Ragnarok. Okay, as you can see, no drifting whatsoever in this game. Also folks, just to make it clear, I recorded all of these clips that I'm showing you right now in one go. I don't want you guys to think that I'm trying to pull an Andre Di Maio here and push a false narrative to spread negativity and misinformation. I literally recorded for around 50 minutes, hopping from game after game to see if my controller has drifting with any other game besides God of War. And I'm gonna be emphasizing on that later, just you wait. But in any case, that's it for Doom Eternal. Developed by id Software and Bethesda. No drifting whatsoever in this game. Very well, now let's check with Resident Evil 4 Remake developed by Capcom. So just like before, my fellows, I'm gonna fidget the hell out of my thumb over the stick to see if there is any camera movement while doing this. As you can see, no camera movement either while fidgeting my finger over the stick. Now let me try and see if there is any actual drift when I try to put more input into the thing. Nope, no drifting whatsoever in this game. Well, in that case, let's go now to Days Gone, developed by Bend Studios, and check if we have any issues there. So again guys, same drill as before. I'm gonna test the dead zone by fidgeting my finger over the right stick, and just like before, you are not gonna be seeing any camera movement while I do this. Okay, so no camera movement anywhere to be seen. There seems to be a pretty solid dead zone in that control scheme. Now let's check if putting more input into the stick makes it drift in any way. Alright, that should be enough. So again, no drift whatsoever for this game with this controller. That makes 3 games now that don't have any issues with this controller that weirdly enough was drifting a couple minutes ago when I went into God of War Ragnarok. Alright, you know what guys? I think I realize now. Maybe what happened with God of War Ragnarok before was just a fluke. Maybe there was a bug in the matrix or something like that and my controller decided to drift in that game in that very moment and only that moment. So let me go back to God of War Ragnarok and test it once again. Okay, we're here. This time, God of War Ragnarok is not gonna drift. There can't be another explanation. Oh my god. Man, this is god awful. Holy crap, this is terrible. Well, there you have it guys. If you didn't believe me before, what do you say now? This game and God of War 2018 have such a terrible problem with the way the controls are programmed. And again guys, you just saw it. I went from testing the controller in 3 other games without having any issues whatsoever. And then I go back to God of War Ragnarok and the camera starts drifting right away. Like, I'm not swapping controllers between clips and using an effective one for God of War Ragnarok nor anything fishy like that. All of these clips were captured in a single take and they are just cut and edited for better visualization. It's just such a bizarre thing that they decided not to include a dead zone for the right stick on the controls. And what feels even more bizarre is the fact that they actually went out of their way to program a dead zone for the left stick. I tried testing the same thing with the left stick of course, but since I didn't have any issues with the left stick, it was a little trickier to test. Nonetheless, you can tell that the left stick doesn't register inputs as easily as the right stick, which again makes just so bizarre the way the controls are programmed in this game. I don't know guys, I feel like Santa Monica sometimes makes such questionable decisions when it comes to game development and the God of War games. Like, don't get me wrong, the modern God of War games are amazing, I love those 2 games, but I feel like they could be so much better if the developers didn't do so many weird things for the sake of being bold and unique and whatnot with these games. Does anyone remember that there was no skip cutscene button for Ragnarok on launch? And that they only added that like 1 year after the game released with the addition of the New Game Plus feature? And now with the release of the DLC, they don't allow you to skip cutscenes in the DLC either, which is so dumb. Let's not forget about the unnecessary amount of walkie-talkie sections that this game has in general. And now we have this problem that makes Ragnarok so susceptible to having drift issues. On top of other bugs that can make the game very frustrating at times. But especially this thing here, dude. This is literally a deal breaker for me. The combat in this game is super tough and demanding, and you need everything to work perfectly to come up on top. But having the camera randomly move to the sides or upwards when you are trying to fight is just the worst thing ever. That's literally intolerable. And this problem really disencourages me from continuing playing God of War. Alright guys, I said at the beginning that I was gonna show 6 games. I also recorded the same test on Sekiro, Nioh and Watch Dogs, but at this point, I don't think showing that footage is necessary. It's gonna be the same thing that I already showed. There are gonna be no camera issues in those games, then I go back to God of War Ragnarok and the camera starts moving on its own right away. I think I have driven the point home already with what I showed so far, so let's not beat a dead horse in here. So guys, that's gonna be all for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you've also suffered the same problem when playing either God of War 2018 or Ragnarok. I swear guys, I'm not exaggerating when I say that I've seen so many other people have the same issue when playing these God of War games. Remember that in my case, I have played the modern God of Wars with 4 different controllers and I've had the same issue with all 4 controllers, which makes me depressed, frustrated, irritated, angered, and ultimately it makes me hate the Santa Monica Studios for their crappy practices and game design. Alright guys, that's all that I had to say on the matter, kind of a short video today. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna keep uploading God of War videos for much longer now. I'm gonna try, but I don't promise anything because of this fucking drifting thing. We'll see in any case. Okay folks, don't forget to also give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. This was Mabel HQ, the Pro Gamer, and I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.